Welcome back to Top of Mind. My name is Hayley and today's episode is going to be all about psychological theories. My last episode that I did on psychological theories used in marketing, I had so much incredible feedback. I actually also had a handful of people come up to me in person and tell me how much they loved that episode. So I'm doing another episode with another 5 psychological theories that are often used in marketing. And once you better understand how these psychological theories are used in marketing, I can demonstrate them with real world or real life examples, but it actually might help you better understand how to market your own business or even yourself. So we're going to dive straight into it. This is a topic that I am so nerdy about. I love it and could talk about it for days and days and days. Psychological theories have a huge amount to do with social media, personal branding and marketing because we're human. It's understanding how consumers think or people think, how they act and why they act the way that they act when they're presented with a certain set of information. So I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about 5 new psychological theories that are often used in marketing, and I'm going to show you how they are used in marketing with some real life examples, but then also how you can potentially use this theory in your own marketing. Let's get stuck into it. So the 5 theories that we're going to be talking about today are the mere exposure effect. Number 2 is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Number 3 is the social influence theory. Number 4 is the scarcity principle, or it's also known as the reactance theory. And number 5 is the reciprocity theory, or the theory of free shit, which is what I like to call it. I'm going to explain them all to you. I've got my laptop here because I do have a bit of information about the theory in case you're interested in that. I'm going to give you examples of how it shows up in marketing and then also how you can use it in your own marketing. So the first theory we're talking about is the mere exposure effect. Now, this simply put talks about the fact that the more that we are exposed to something, the more we tend to like it, even if it's a subconscious thing. In social psychology, this is often called the familiarity principle. It is first kind of identified by psychologist Robert Jarnock in 1968, and I apologize if I don't have that last name pronounced correctly. Some people over the years have suggested that this particular psychological theory is rooted in kind of evolutionary history. And what I mean by that is where familiarity and when you're familiar with something could actually signal safety or non-threatening behavior. So when you're familiar with something or you know something, therefore it's safe and it's something that is more trusted as opposed to something that is less familiar or unfamiliar. An example of this was seen in Eurovision 2012. They did a study on a really interesting connection of the number of times an audience member or the audience saw a contestant correlated with how many votes the contestant received. So every time the camera cut away to a particular contestant or country, it correlated directly to the percentage of votes that that person or that performer got. So it didn't matter if the contestant was a great performer or not. As long as they were seen more by the audience, the contestant received more overall votes. And I think that's really interesting from a marketing standpoint because familiarity breeds affection, whatever you're doing. I like to use an example of dating, right? If your friend is dating somebody and you've never met them, there's this lack of trust of, oh, I don't really know, who he is or who she is, and I don't really know much about them, so I can't really form an opinion. Whereas the more you spend with that person's partner, the more you trust them. And the same as when you go out dating, you see someone once and there's really little trust. The more time you spend with them and the more consistent they are with their efforts or acts, the more you trust them. Now, how this shows up in marketing is It might be a jingle that you've heard and you hear it consistently. It might be the type of music that sits behind particular advertising that you hear all the time with that particular brand. If you see the same brand pop up on Instagram, TikTok, on email, or on YouTube, it makes it feel trusted even though you've never purchased it. How many times have you seen an ad pop up time and time again, maybe different forms of creative? Even though you've never purchased it, because you've seen it pop up so many times, it makes you more inclined to purchase it because you've seen it so many times. This is the same as repetitive brand ads like Coca-Cola, Nike, McDonald's, how they constantly show up with their branding or their creative in their ads, whether they've got jingles, slogans, that all builds familiarity, which then breeds trust. And it's the same as content marketing. So if you're creating content for your brand, having consistently turning up on social media instead of just once a month, consistency breeds trust as well. So it doesn't have to be every day, but if you're posting consistently, people are like, oh yeah, they're there every day, or they post every day. And therefore you build that trust or that affinity over time, where just by merely being exposed to your audience more consistently, you're more trustworthy. I talk about consistency a lot in a lot of our content, and turning up consistently is probably one of the biggest things that you can do that is free. Now, how you can implement the mere exposure effect in your marketing is being consistent across your channels, using the same brand colors, logo placement, tone of voice, and the types of messages that you're putting out there. I talk about this a lot when it comes to branding, and your brand guidelines serve a really, really important role in this process. And what I mean by that is, if you click on something like an ad, for example, and you're like, oh, that looks cool, and then you go to the website, but the website fonts and colors don't match what you were looking at on social media, there's going to be this immediate sense of distrust because the post that you originally clicked on looks different to the website. And that's where consistency can really assist with trust, but it also, if it's not consistent, can really quickly erode your trust. So being consistent in all aspects of how you turn up as a brand or as a person is really important. The second way that you can implement this theory, the mere exposure effect theory in your marketing, is repurposing your content. Don't be scared to say the same things 3 times over, 4 times over, 10 times over. Just say it in a different way. I talk about this with content pillars when we're creating social strategies or personal branding strategies. Having your 3 content pillars of what you want to be known for, or how you want to show up as a business or as a brand or as a person, is really important. And all of your content has to ladder back up to one of those 3 pillars to ensure that you're being consistent with your messaging across your socials. One question I get all the time is, won't people get sick of me talking about the same thing? No, that is the exact reason that they will follow you. If you're talking about your own brand personally, or your business brand, or what you're doing for work, and you're talking about it time and time again, you'll be known for the person that talks about that particular thing. I use Ned Brockman as an example here, and he is the man, for those that don't know, that ran across Australia. Now, for months in the lead up to him running across Australia, there was this huge build up about the fact that he was running across Australia to raise money for homelessness. Massive effort. But he talks about it a lot in the sense that so many people now go to him for running advice, and he says he's not a runner. But he spoke about running across Australia for months and months and months and months, that people were like, Ned Brockman is a runner. I'm quickly interrupting this podcast episode because I just want to remind you that in order for us to stay top of mind, see what I did there? We need you to hit like and subscribe, or share this with a friend. Give them a little bit of marketing inspiration or business inspiration today. Now back to the episode. But he talks about it and he goes, I've got a whole team to support me running. I just put one foot in front of the other. So if you show up and you talk about something consistently over and over and over again, remember, not everybody sees every single post. You'll eventually build trust and over time be the trusted person in that particular area of expertise. So that's the mirror exposure effect. Now, the second theory that I want to talk about, psychological theory that I want to talk about, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you probably remember it. I certainly remember it from school, where it is based on human motivation being based on fulfilling a series of needs, from basic, which is food and safety, to psychological, such as belonging and self-esteem. The theory suggests that people are motivated to satisfy lower level needs before they can move on to higher ones. Now, there's 5 levels of human needs. The most basic, which is the psychological needs, physiological needs. Physiological needs is first, food, water, sleep. Second is safety needs, so security, stability, and shelter. The third is love and belonging, so relationships, community, and connection. Fourth is self-esteem, so we're all around achievement, respect, and recognition. And then 5 is self-actualization, which is around fulfilling personal potential, creativity, and purpose. Now, how this particular theory shows up in marketing is budget supermarkets market low prices to meet basic survival needs. Everyone is drawn to a sale because they think that that is assisting them with surviving, being able to get more for less. Beauty brands sell to self-confidence, so self-esteem. Luxury brands like Tesla and Rolex sell status and self-actualization. They're not just selling a car or a watch, they're selling success. Not so much Tesla recently. Actually, side note, I saw a sticker on a Tesla the other day and it was like, I bought this before Elon went crazy. That is a whole nother thing that I want to unpack, but that's wild that Tesla as a brand went from being this amazing, you know, sustainable, ahead of the curve brand, and now through the affinity of Elon with Donald Trump, there's a lot of people that are then starting to sell their Teslas or trade them in or move away from the brand because of that. Now, I find that really interesting. So I'm going to maybe I'll do another episode on some of those kind of brand collaborations or brand narratives changing over time. Anyway, back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Gym and health brands, they target self-esteem and belonging. You know, you're not just getting fit, you're joining a community. Some brand examples for you are McDonald's. They provide basic needs, foods, you know, foods that you need, but wraps it in family-friendly messaging around I'm loving it, speaking to belonging and comfort. IKEA, it doesn't just sell furniture, but it sells a safe, stable, and happy home. There's certain campaigns that they've run in the past, like Where Life Happens, speaks to emotional safety and this domestic connection of a brand. Masterclass, which is the online courses and classes that you can do from well-known people across the world. They sell inspiration and growth and potential. They use the tagline, learn from the world's best. You're not just learning or cooking or writing, you're becoming someone. So it talks to the potential and the growth potential for that particular human being. Now, how you can implement Maslow's hierarchy of need is really simple when it comes to your marketing. You just need to map your offer to a need level. Are you solving a survival-led problem or helping someone live out their full potential? Then use messaging that reflects that need. So for example, if you're talking to the basic or safety need from Maslow's hierarchy, something like save money and eat well could be some great messaging that you'd use within your campaign. Or if you want to talk to self-esteem, you might say feel confident in your own skin. Self-actualization, if you're trying to target that top need, be the best version of you. Everything taps into that emotional need in that pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy. You can also, if you want to take it one step further, target different levels through segmented campaigns. So speak to budget-conscious buyers differently than non-budget conscious clients or buyers. In the same way that you might speak to mums as part of your campaign, and then you might speak to younger women who don't have children as part of your campaign. So making sure that you're really conscious of your audience, identifying the need that you're trying to target or offer, and then identifying the audiences that you're going to be talking to, super important, especially when it comes to implementing Maslow's hierarchy as a psychological theory in your marketing. All right, number 3 is social influence theory. I like to call this social proof. Really simple. What the social influence theory talks about is that people tend to follow the actions of others, assuming those actions reflect correct behavior. So people often copy other people when making decisions, especially when they're uncertain. Now, how this shows up in marketing is product reviews and testimonials. Amazon, Airbnb, so many brands rely heavily on product reviews and testimonials. And I would ask you how many times you've gone to purchase something and seen how many great reviews there are, and that's the thing that's pushed you over the line to purchase it. There's also things that you can do on your website or your marketing collateral, which might be bestseller tags or most popular plan. I know that when you sign up to Spotify, for example, it shows you which plan is most popular to nudge people towards it. Highlighting Google reviews is also a really great way to show social proof, and it instantly builds trust. There's certain messaging that you can use as well, like join 10,000 happy customers, or 9,000 people recently purchased this product. This is also where user-generated content can come into play. TikTok creators or creators using your product, or people just using your product and sharing it. Relatable proof is better than polished ads. So how you can implement it in your marketing is highlight those reviews and testimonials, add them everywhere, put them on your homepage, your product pages, your email footers. Encourage user-generated content. Ask customers to tag you when they use your product and reshare those tags. Leverage influencers, even micro-influencers, create social validation for communities. So it doesn't matter if you have one person post that has 40,000 followers versus 10 people that are posting that have 1,000 followers. You need to find your community and identify people of influence within those communities to start sharing content. It's also really important to add stats where possible. So most popular flavor or bestseller or #1 in Australia or your particular country, but make sure it's in your brand tone of voice. I'll give you an example. I own a chili oil business called Spicy Boy, B-O-I, not B-O-Y. Don't Google B-O-Y. It's actually here behind me. It's a crispy chili oil business. And when we were making the labels, we had to say that it was made in Australia. It has the made in Australia tag. It's made with majority of Australian ingredients. But we didn't just want to say made in Australia because it doesn't really align with the brand tone of voice that we've created. So all we said was made down under, because a lot of our messaging is sexy, it's tongue-in-cheek, it's about making simple food sexy. So the slight change in messaging where we've said instead of made in Australia, made down under, can make a huge difference. So add those things in where you can, but make sure it's in your brand tone of voice to keep that consistency. If you are loving this episode, don't forget to leave a comment or hit that subscribe button. You have no idea how much it means for podcasters like me to get a like or subscribe, because it means that we can get better guests and we can get into more ears of people to help talk to them about marketing, social media, and personal branding. Now back to the episode. All right, number 4, the scarcity principle, which also is known as the reactance theory. Now, when something is perceived as limited, it becomes more desirable. People react to losing out on freedom or their availability. Humans hate missing out. It is a known fact. It's where FOMO came from. And when our freedom to choose something feels threatened, like it might sell out or disappear, our brain goes, I want it even more. Prime example, someone goes, oh, the last cookie, does anyone want it? You might not even want the cookie, but it's the last one, so you're, oh, okay, I'll have it. Historically, if we look back in evolution, or through evolution, historically resources that were scarce were more valuable. So food, water, shelter. This bias has been carried into modern life, where we associate rarity with value, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Scarcity creates urgency, and urgency drives action. There are 4 types of scarcity that I want to talk to you about though. There's time scarcity, quantity scarcity, access scarcity, and demand-based scarcity. Time scarcity talks around offer ends tonight, or we have a 24-hour flash sale. It talks about the fact that there's not much time left. Quantity scarcity talks about only 5 left in stock, or limited to the first 100 customers. It talks about the quantity of product and how limited it is. You might do limited drops of products. Access scarcity talks about invite only, or members only, or waitlist required. It means that there is a limited amount of access to that particular thing that you're selling. And demand-based scarcity can talk to the fact that it's going fast, trending now, or it's sold out in minutes. Means it's a high demand thing, which creates more urgency. Now, how this shows up in marketing, it's everywhere. And I feel like once you know about these principles or these theories, you become more aware of how they're used in marketing every day. We see it in Apple product launches. Limited availability makes them feel exclusive. That's why we have people lining up outside Apple stores. Would never be me, but that's why they do it. It's the same with concert tickets. Pre-sale for fans only creates urgency and exclusivity. If there's only 1,000 tickets that are going to be sold through the box office because the rest of them are going to be sold online, that's why you have people camping out for tickets. Spotify Wrapped uses the scarcity principle because it's only available once a year. Everybody wants to get involved with it because it happens once a year. Booking.com and Airbnb typically use this messaging as well, saying only 1 left at this price. A lot of retailers use that messaging too. Only 1 left at this price. Only 2 left. 2 items remain, or last item in stock. Messaging like early bird pricing ends Sunday means that you're not only going to miss out on the cheaper option, but you're going to have to pay more if you want to buy them after Sunday. Things like limited edition drops from brands like Nike or Glossier generate hype because they're not always available. People feel like they're going to miss out. So how you can implement this theory into your own marketing is create urgency in your offers. Time limited sales, quantity limited offers, only 50 spots available on courses and products. Create it as an exclusive members only thing or a wait list, but create that urgency or scarcity in your offer. Remember, you've got the 4 types of scarcity: time, quantity, access, and demand-based. Use countdown timers on your social media pages, emails, and landing pages. Use exclusivity. So offer something to only your email list or top customers. But the one thing with the scarcity principle that you do not want to do is fake it. If you have 100 tickets left and you say last 2 tickets left or only 10 tickets left, but you actually have 100, people know. People will find out, and it erodes trust really, really quickly. So be honest and don't fake scarcity. The last theory that we're going to talk about is the reciprocity principle, aka the psychology of free shit. That's what I like to call it. When someone gives you something, we feel compelled to return the favor. This is the reciprocity principle at work. Marketers use it all the time. I always say when you show up online or you're providing content from a personal standpoint, give, and then ask. The reason why is because if you give your audience something of value first, they'll be more likely to give you something back, whether it's their attention, their email address, or even making a purchase. Why does it work? Because it is wired into us. Reciprocity is a social norm. It builds trust, it creates connection, and makes people feel like they owe you something even if they didn't ask for it. I like to use the analogy or the example of a friend. If you constantly have a friend that's turning up for you and going, yeah, no worries, I'll pick you up, or yeah, I'll get that for you and drop it for you, you drop it off for you, or yeah, I can go and do that for you, no problems. Always give, and they don't ask for anything. When they do ask, it's hard to say no. And that is the reciprocity principle, or the psychology of free shit at work. How it shows up in marketing, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of platforms and businesses that offer free trials. Netflix, most of the streaming services do, Strava, they all offer free trials, which then means you're less likely to cancel when it ticks over to a subscription, because you're like, well, I got 30 days for free, so I'm just going to continue using it. Adore Beauty and Mecca Beauty Loop are examples of this reciprocity principle. Mecca Beauty Loop gives you a whole heap of product for free when you've purchased X amount, but it's for free. So you're like, why would I shop anywhere else? The same can be seen with a cafe that gives you a free cookie with your coffee. There's a great coffee shop near my mum and dad's house. It's called Eccentric. I don't know if they'll ever see this, but I don't know if they still do this, but they do, it's in Maroubra, and they do the little brownies, like a little brownie lump that sits on your coffee when you get takeaway. And people go back just for the brownies. It makes customers feel good. They've not had to pay for something, but look, a free cookie or a free brownie. It's the same as when you offer free resources, like downloadable resources like ebooks or flyers or templates in exchange for an email. Customers are like, yeah, sure, I'll give you my email if you're going to give me 100 ways to do X, Y, and Z. Email newsletters are exactly the same. They're offering value over time, which genuinely build trust over that period of time before asking for a sale. It's the same with PR gifts. Brands that send unexpected gifts, you feel more loyal or inclined to try and buy again. Adore Beauty do this really well. I think I got a Tim Tam in the last order that I purchased. And although I didn't eat it, I would be more likely to buy from Adore Beauty again because of that little sweet treat that sat in that box. It's the same with generous returns policies. The iconic, perfect example. I know that I'm gonna buy because if it's not right, I can just package it back up and send it off for free, and it's easy. Free returns make purchasing even easier. Now, how you can implement this in your marketing is creating a freebie that actually helps or makes people feel good. This can be anything from free information that you provide in your email marketing. This could be a little gift with purchase once customers have spent a certain amount. I know that with certain loyal customers that buy from us, from Spicy Boy, every single month, and they have for the last 2 years, every so often I'll throw a free jar in there, or I give them a discount code to shop again, because it's those little things that keep people coming back. And as a business, it doesn't cost us that much to retain a loyal customer. Send little thank you notes or surprises. We handwrite all of our cards that go out with our Spicy Boy orders, because there's so many brands nowadays that forget that little personal touch. And for me, it's really important because I like to thank all of the customers that purchase from us. You can use follow-up emails that subtly ask people, you know, to leave a review, and in exchange you'll give them a gift card or a discount code for a certain amount of money. But you can also create or use this theory by creating social value, so social media value, sharing free advice or expert advice online for free. And if you're constantly giving out advice, not only do people feel like they can trust you more, but it proves that you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. And then when people do need you or do need your help, they reach out. This podcast is a perfect example of it. It's completely free. I'd like to keep it ad-free for as long as possible, because I personally hate ads in my podcast content. But the only way that I continue to be able to do this is because so many leads find us through this podcast. They go, I love what you were talking about with this. We need help with X, Y, and Z. So by offering up my knowledge and my experience and my advice for free in exchange for nothing, maybe just a share or a like or a subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with everybody. But really, I'm asking for nothing. It makes you more inclined when someone goes, oh, I need help with social media or marketing, for you to recommend us over somebody else. And that is how the reciprocity theory or the psychology of free ship works. Now, they are your 5 new psychological theories that can be seen in marketing and social media and content creation and personal branding. They are the mere exposure effect, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the social influence theory, aka social proof, the scarcity principle or the reactance theory, and the reciprocity theory, which is the psychology of free shit. Quick pause for a second. I just want to quickly interrupt to ask you one thing. If you are loving the content that you are listening to, make sure you hit subscribe or leave a review. I want to keep these podcast episodes ad-free for as long as possible, and the only way that I can do that is by you guys subscribing or leaving a great review or sharing it with a friend. So that's all I ask of you today. Now back to the episode. Now, if you loved this episode, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment or send us a DM. I love hearing from people that love the episodes that we put out, because we put these out for you guys. If you have any questions about the psychological theories that I've talked about today, or I've talked about in episode 20, which was our first psychological theories episode, send me a message, leave a comment below, and I will either answer it on the podcast or come back to you directly. If you have any questions about your own marketing, social media, or personal branding, leave us a comment or drop us a DM at topofmind.pod. I will answer all of the questions that I get on live Q&As on our podcast. So you can leave a voice memo for us, you can send us a DM, you can send us an email, and I will aim to answer as many questions as I can, because I know that if you have a question about something, it will likely help 10 other people that will likely also have the same question. So any questions that you have, feel free to send them through to us, DM us, email us, whatever is easiest. I really appreciate you spending time with me to learn more around psychological theories and how they show up in marketing. Thanks so much for joining me.